I'm Frayana, and today I'm going to talk about Alchemized by SenLinYu. If you want to know what I think about this book, stay with me. So, Alchemized is a dark fantasy novel which takes place in a war torn country. That's the simplistic answer I can give you. The entire setup is in a war torn country and it explores the themes of grief, trauma, memory loss, physical experiments, and so on. And the story actually takes place in Palladia. That's the fantasy world SenLinYu gave us. And there is a war between necromancers or necrothralls controlled by the high necromancer and the resistance who are trying to defend Palladia. And this book has the central character named Helena Moreno, who is an ex-alchemist, and she was captured during the war. And the book starts with the timeline where she wakes up with no memory, nobody around her but people who captured her, and she finds out that the High Necromancer has won the war and resistance lost, and she has lost almost all of her friends. And that's what this book is basically about. While I was reading this book, well, as you can see, it's a very, very fat, big book. It has 1,040 pages. And let me tell you one thing. If you are not a patient, a dedicated reader, you will struggle with it. Because this book, first of all, can get quite monotonous when you are reading through the first 200 to 300 pages. It is actually very skillfully divided into 3 sections, and I'm grateful for that division. In the first section, the premise is the present time. The war is over, bad people won, Helena captured, she wakes up with zero memory and lots of physical pain. In the second part, the author actually gives you more context about what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and what led to the demise of the resistance. In the third section, you will find out what actually happens with Helena. Basically, just tying up and concluding everything. You get a picture of the post-war devastation. And actually, I was very, very scared when I was reading it because if you are following Book Talk, it will tell you that if you have not read Manacled, you will not understand a lot of it, you'll struggle, blah, 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 blah. I have never read Manacled. I never knew SenLinYu. Now I know her and I love her. And you have to be really patient to continue through so many pages because a lot of suggestions came out as you should read the second section first and then you switch back to the first section for your comfort. But I didn't do that. I just read it like a normal book, how I normally read books from page 1 to the last. And my biggest struggle was that I did not understand vivimancy, animancy, and necromancy properly. Like you really need to be very clear about how these things are functioning in the context of this book. So that was my struggle. But even though I had no idea what these themes are, I just stuck to the story and I figured it out. It was not very comfortable, but it was so fulfilling when I finished the book. So there are three main characters. At least that's what I think. One is Helena, obviously, it's about her. And then the second main character would be Kane Farron, and the third would be Luke Holdfast. Just giving you a little bit context here. So, Helena is an immigrant to Palladia. Sounds like something very important going on around us? Yes. So she is an immigrant student to Palladia. She is very bright and very hardworking, and she was handpicked by the Holdfasts. Basically, she was like studying in a scholarship at their educational institution to be a doctor in modern context. You call it a doctor, but she uses alchemy to work in the medical sector. And then comes Kane Farron. He is the High Reeve of the High Necromancer. So, yeah, the High Necromancer is the villain, and he is a representative of the High Necromancer. However, actually, he is a spy and he's trying to help the resistance. So, he's sort of playing the double agent, and the most interesting character for me in this book. I would have introduced him as Helena's love interest, but this character is so special to me that I would choose to introduce him as Helena's love interest as the last line of his introduction. He has so much more going on. He is literally the embodiment of isolation. He is alone, he has lost everything, and he is playing a very gray role in the whole setup. So it's actually very hard to pick up whether he's a villain or a hero or an anti-hero. Yeah, there is no straight answer to that, and that's something I think SenLinYu does very well in this book. There is no easy answer to what is right and what is wrong because a war is going on. The bad guys won the war, and war changes people. War changes the definition of what is right and what is wrong. And depending on where you are standing in that context, from professional perspective, from economic or political perspective, what is right and what is wrong, these answers will be actually very different considering your background and your standpoint. So that's also something this book does very well. And I have taken some notes here while I was reading, and something that really stood out to me is that how this book reflects on the moral cost of war. Yes, you are losing people, you are losing physical and mental assets, but what you lose more is your morality, how it changes, how your viewpoint about everything and everyone changes. And that's fascinating. And if you take a look at the book, like I would just spread it for you. This is how it looks, and if you can see how beautiful the artwork is in the cover, like it's undoubtedly one of the most beautiful covers I have seen in a long time. Like it really drew me in. And what the author does very well is that she creates this world that looks exactly like this. And she is very stable with what she did, how she painted that gothic, black, gray, white, colorless world. That part was fascinating, and she was very stable. Like from the start of the book to the end, it never really changed. You will feel the blackness and the grayness of the atmosphere and different locations like Spirefell or the Holdfast Institute, it's just the color is just black and different shades of gray. So I think the cover really does justice to that. And the last character, I actually, sorry, got lost in the discussion while talking about the cover, is that the last character would be Luke Holdfast, the last main character. And um, he is this bright boy who is leading the resistance. He is the principate or the leader or the embodiment of the aspirations of the resistance. But how this character actually is portrayed is that he changes his entire picture, his appearance, not physical, but spiritual, and his morals, how it molds and how he slowly loses the free will to lead his own people, and how he gives in to people's demands and everybody who is working for him, how he gives in to their aspirations and he loses himself. Even as a leader, even though he holds all the power, was also fascinating. And just to say that I was not expecting this book to be a 5 out of 5-star reading, and there is a reason. I have a lot of respect for writers who are very new to their journey, and SenLinYu, she's not new. She has written fan fictions before and she was very successful, but this is officially her first published book. And that made me excited, and I was looking forward to how she goes through this journey of writing her first book and publishing it, and how would the story unfold in a brain that does not have any pre-context of Manacled. And I absolutely loved it. One thing about Alchemized is that it gives you the raw interpretation of human trauma, grief, and loss. She is unapologetic. SenLinYu did not hold back when she was picturizing the human experimentation, the child abuse, the mental and physical torture, and overlooking all types of human rights today we understand. And it was just fascinating, and it was gory, and it was haunting to you. Like, the effect will leave with you even when you are finished with this book. And it is not for lighthearted. She did not hold it back. Yes, some part of this book you can complain about, and those complaints may include that there are repetitions of explanations of physical pain that sounds quite similar, and it comes up so repeatedly that you may end up thinking that the author probably doesn't have anything more to say. She just knows to explain physical pain in a certain way. But let me tell you something, just to share it, to give some more context, is that I have migraine, and I have migraine attack regularly. And every time I'm in pain, I say, I'm in pain, I'm in pain. The pain is really bad. My head is burning. I feel like cutting my head into halves and throw one part away. And I want to throw up every time the pain comes up. And trust me, over the past 15 years, every time I had pain, these are the common phrases that came to my mind. Like, pain is pain, and it is when it is so stably present in your life, you may lose words. And I think she did that part very well, and I understand the reputation because This entire book is about all types of pain a devastating war can bring to you. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or a child. She took it in a very, very descriptive journey and she drew it for us. And I think, first of all, it's very time appropriate now that we have so like different wars in the world consecutively running, like they are running hand by hand. And there are so many immigration issues and so many traumas that we are hearing every single day. I think this book has a lot of modern day relevance to us. And that is also fascinating to me. Yeah, see, I'm using the word fascinating quite a lot. I hope you guys are not bored. But yeah, I loved it. And I have heard things like dark romantasy or romantasy linking to this book. I would not call this book a romantasy. This is really not a romantasy because there is love. It's the all consuming love of Helena and Cain. But it takes a back seat when you consider what are the other things that outshines love, given the context. So another thing I also noticed that there is a theme of surveillance. Those of you who are familiar with Michel Foucault and his concept of surveillance, this book I think actually shows it wonderfully how surveillance looks like in a war-torn society and in a post-war society. So that is another issue that she very skillfully inserted into this book that stood out to me. Like, you are being watched. You are being watched from head to toe. You are being watched every time you take a breath. So that theme is also quite shining in this book. So my final verdict of this book after reading it was 4 out of 5 stars. I just had to give it to her. And who should read this book? Now that I am concluding this video and I have rated this book, who should read this book? So if you are someone who is very patient as a reader and who has some commitment issues like me, like I cannot let go. I find it very hard time to DNF a book that I started unless it's so bad that even my eternal patience are gone. If it's a case like that, I let go, but I didn't let it go. So if you're a patient and very devoted reader who likes to explore uncomfortable themes, who also love to know about new issues, and you don't lose patience while reading about them. Again, patience, yes. This book is for you guys. And even though love takes a backseat in this book, you will see how morally gray point the love stands on. And SenLinYu has done it very well. So even if you are someone who's looking for love and the themes of romance, it's there. It really is there. It just is portrayed as something very painful and obsessive, and both of the lovers are in constant paranoia. That's how love in this book looks like. So if you want to call it a dark romantasy, sure, go ahead. But for me, it's a very good dark fantasy book, which does have some romance themes in the background. So thank you guys for sitting with me and hearing me talking about this big fat book. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.